Hello again, everybody. This is Rocket Rick J18, and today I'm going to talk to you about my 1954 Topps baseball card set. And it's a very interesting set because some people really love it and others aren't quite as well impressed. Coming off the heels of the massive 407 card 1952 set with all of the great players that are in that set. The one guy that's not in it was Ted Williams, and no Stan Musial. So there's some cards missing that really are you would have hoped would have been in there, but they're not. The 1953 set was also a stellar piece of art. Very popular set. 274 cards in that set. It says it's a 280 card set, but 6 cards they never made. So for reasons which are obscure. So the 54 set really doesn't kind of come up to that, but a lot of people say it's their favorite set, and people that I respect and are pretty knowledgeable about, baseball cards and about in general and about Topps cards specifically. Let's talk a little bit about the set. It was distributed in 3 separate series. Cards numbered 1 through 50 in the first series, 51 through 75 in the second series, and then 76 through 250 in the third series. Cards in the first series come with either a gray back or a white back and background on the reverse side. Don't appear to be any short prints, at least none that are known. The gray backs in the first series were printed in Canada, issued in Canada, and not printed, but issued in Canada. And the white backs were distributed in the United States. So the Hall of Fame rookie cards include 2 massive cards, and those were, or 3 massive cards rather. Hank Aaron, Al Kaline, and Ernie Banks are all in this set as rookies. Hall of Famers also include Ted Williams, Willie Mays, Duke Snider, Yogi Berra, Whitey Ford, and Jackie Robinson are all in the set. And there's also a rookie card for another Hall of Famer, and that's manager Tony Lasorda. Tommy Lasorda in 1954 was a rookie left-handed pitcher for the then Brooklyn Dodgers. And when they broke camp in the spring of 1955 to come north, Tommy was notified that he wasn't going to make the trip, and they were going to take another left-handed pitcher to home to Brooklyn. Tommy tried to talk him out of it. He said, "Look, this kid that you're taking over me. I mean, he's got a great arm, but he can't hit the broadside of a barn." And he said, "You want somebody who can throw the ball over the plate, consistently." Well, they kind of wanted both, so Tommy was not a fireballer. So they went ahead and followed that up, and of course the left-hander in 1955 was Sandy Koufax. That's a story that Tommy Lasorda told on himself. Okay, the design of the 1954 tops, from a size standpoint, follows the 52 and 53 tops, with the cards measuring 2 5/8 in width by 3 3/4 inches by length. For the first time in this set, for the first time, there are multiple photographs. There's a, uh, a portrait in color, or it's been colorized, a black and white photograph that was colorized, uh, and a black and white photograph, action shot. There are a number of different color backgrounds to the cards, including white, yellow, light blue, green, red, orange, and dark orange, which is kind of wonder why they picked two different color oranges. And the cards on the front display the player's name, the team position, the logo, the team logo, and a facsimile signature. On the backs of the cards, there are both statistical and biographical information, including the card number, a write-up about the player's career, and a cartoon frame featuring animated photos. Card backs can be found with either white, black, red, green, or flesh tone color schemes. One of the most unique and frustrating quirks for collectors regarding the set is the orientation of the cards. They purposely do not have a white border on the top of the card, and this is because the tops of the cards were lined up against those of the next row on the printing sheet. What resulted is that half of the cards were printed upside down. Unfortunately, it appears the press operator forgot to orient the card backs accordingly. So if you have a card show today and thumb through a box of 54 tops, you'll find likely that half of the cards in there have the number at the top and the remainder have it at the bottom. I made a video recently about card obsessions, and I like to have the cards having the number at the top when I put them in the sleeves. Of course, the picture obviously can't be upside down. And so, like they said, half of the cards I can't get the number at the top because, they're both ways. So that's very annoying to me, and it was very annoying when I had to sort the cards. And if I ever have to do that again, it'll be equally annoying the second time. One of the problems that Topps still faced, along with Bowman, was that they had different players signed to exclusive contracts. So Ted Williams was the exclusive, had an exclusive contract with Topps, and he's depicted on two cards. The first card, number 1, which is on an orange background, and the second card, number 250, on a yellow background. Another card that's of interest, you still have 250 players depicted in the set because card number 139 is a card for the O'Brien twins, Ed and John, who played middle infield positions for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So there's two players on one card and one player on two cards. So it evens out, still 250 players. And that's an interesting card. I would always kind of like that multiplayer aspect of a 1954 Topps 1954 Topps set. However, Bowman also had baseball card rights to Mickey Mantle, Pee Wee Reese, and Roy Campanella, which prevented their inclusion in the 54 Topps set. So if you wanted a 54 Topps Mickey Mantle, which a lot of people did, your choices were get a 54 Bowman Mantle, which is a great card, or get a copy of the second issue of Sports Illustrated and get one of the facsimile cards in the Topps design out of that. They're not really cards, they're really pieces of paper. I mean, they're so thin, you can hardly call them a card. But anyway, that's those were your choices. Now, Bowman had the reverse problem. They actually printed a Ted Williams card, number 66, in that 54 Bowman set, but they had to withdraw it because of the contractual rights. Bowman didn't have the money to fight it out in court, and so they were a little limited in what they could respond. So anyway, that's sort of the background of the 54 Topps set. With that in mind, let's look at the cards. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit. There we go. So we start out with, again, card number one, Ted Williams in the number one position there. There are a number of other players, not Monte Irvin, Hall of Famer, is card number three with the white background. Again, it's such a big deal to look at a young Monte Irvin, always with a smile on his face. Eddie Lopat's card number five, one of the top Yankee pitchers from, especially considering that the Yankees won 5 consecutive World Series championships with Eddie Lopat as one of the star pitchers. They also had Allie Reynolds and Vic Raschi and Whitey Ford. One of the things about Eddie Lopat was he was known as the junk man because, he couldn't, as the saying goes, he couldn't throw a baseball hard enough to break glass from 60 feet away. So one time he struck out Ted Williams on a changeup, and he said, "How'd you like that one, Ted?" He said, "That was my fastball." And Williams was not amused. And it was widely known that Ted Williams had pretty much you remember the line in the movie A Christmas Story where the adult version of the kid says, my dad worked in obscenities like a great artist works in oils. Well, that was kind of Ted Williams too. In fact, he never referred to Ed Lopat in any other way than that effing Lopat, except he didn't say effing. So that's the story about Ed Lopat and Ted Williams. Ted Kluszewski also in this set as card number 7. Then we have card numbers 9 through 16, and they feature the Kitten, Harvey Haddix, then with the Cardinals, later, of course, with the Pirates. Jackie Robinson, card number 10. Beautiful card, beautiful picture of Jackie. Del Crandall, the great Braves catcher. Billy Martin, Preacher Rowe, Al Rosen, all really good baseball players. Not quite at the Hall of Fame level for those guys, but still anybody happy to have them. Just a quick word about card number 16, Vic Janowitz. Vic was a catcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He was also a Heisman Trophy winner. I guess I just have to say probably was a better football player than he was a baseball player. Nevertheless, 17 through 24, and we do have a couple of Hall of Famers there on the top row, bookending that top row. Phil Rizzuto, the Yankees shortstop, and Warren Spahn, the Braves left-hander. And as most of you, I'm sure, know, Warren Spahn is the winningest left-handed pitcher in the history of the game. He has won 363 games in his career. And I know it's sort of fashionable to say that wins don't count, but when you play the game, the only stat that really counts is wins and losses. So they're still important. 363 wins is 10 off of the joint efforts of Christy Mathewson and Grover Cleveland Alexander. Bobby Shantz, pitcher with the Philadelphia Athletics, won a Most Valuable Player award in the early 50s. Luke Easter, first baseman, slugger with the Cleveland Indians, hit a lot of really hard pitches in Cleveland's Municipal Stadium. One of them, he hit one of his first home run, maybe his first unofficial home run. He hit with the fungo bat. It made such a strange noise that the umpire knew immediately it wasn't a legal bat and called Luke out for using an illegal bat. He lost his first home run for that reason, and he just picked it up by mistake in the on-deck circle in his, eagerness to get up to the plate. Moving on to card numbers 25 through 32. Again, we've got a couple of Hall of Famers, this time in the bottom row. You'll notice that my 54 Topps cards are not in very good condition. The Harvey Keene card, when Harvey was with the Detroit Tigers, has writing all over it, and it talks about him being a 1960 All-Star and other, has a couple stars on it, so forth. Jim Hegan, the catcher for the Cleveland Indians, his father was a coach with the Yankees. Eddie Matthews and Duke Snider, Hall of Famers, third baseman with the Braves, and Duke Snider, the center fielder for the Dodgers. Those two cards, Paul Minner and Duke Snider, have massive creases right down the middle of the card, like they were folded in half, carried in somebody's back pocket. Moving on to cards 33 through 40. Two Hall of Famers there. Hoyt Wilhelm, pitcher with the New York Giants, and Whitey Ford, left-handed pitcher for the New York Yankees. Jim Gilliam was a rookie with the Brooklyn Dodgers back in the day. And Eddie Stanky, the manager of the Cardinals. Mel Parnell, a pitcher with the Boston Red Sox, was especially well thought of in 1949, featured in the as the leading pitcher for the Red Sox in that miracle season in which the Red Sox finished tied with the Cleveland Indians and lost a one-game playoff, probably because Mel Parnell did not start the game. And for those of you who remember Bucky Bleeping Dent in 1978, well, in 1948, it was Denny Bleeping Greathouse. So it's, again, they finished in a tie, lost the game, which they probably should have won, but didn't. So that's the story about the 1948 series. Dick Groat, not a Hall of Famer, but certainly a great player, All-American basketball player in college. Dick Groat won a batting title in 1960. Don Mueller, outfielder for the Giants. Richie Ashburn, Hall of Fame outfielder, center fielder for the Phillies. Ellis Kinder, who was born in Arkansas, not too far away from where Dizzy and Paul Dean grew up in Arkansas. And Ellis Kinder was a 31-year-old rookie. He was unfortunate in that he didn't just didn't get called by the scouts. I guess not sure really what the reason was other than bad luck. Ellis had a drinking issue. He liked to drink. That was his issue. So we got a couple of other guys besides Hall of Famer Yogi Berra that was a pretty good ball player. Vic Power was a minor leaguer with the Yankees. Later with the Philadelphia Athletics, an outfielder, and ultimately with the Minnesota Twins, formerly the Washington Senators. The first baseball game I ever saw was in Minnesota. Vic Power hit 2 home runs, so I remember him vividly. Junior Stevens, now a third baseman for the Orioles, was a very strong and gifted third baseman. He was featured prominently in those Red Sox of the late 40s, and just came up a grand total of 1 game short in 2 consecutive years. 1949 when they finished the season tied with the Indians, or 48, and 1949 when they lost by 1 game to the New York Yankees after having led by many games through most of the season. So those are cards 49 through 56. 57 through 64 Our next no all-star or no Hall of Famers, I should say, in this set. Gene Conley, a very gangly pitcher with the Milwaukee Braves, also played basketball, professional basketball, with the Boston Celtics. So he's like Dave DeBuscher, they played Danny Ainge played baseball and basketball. Johnny Pesky, now by this time second baseman for the Detroit Tigers, was of course the shortstop on those Red Sox teams in the late 40s. He's the man for whom the pesky pole in Fenway Park is named, due to his prowess at hitting home runs directly down the line, which I think's maybe, 260 feet or some ridiculous number. And he just had that inside-out swing, hit the ball right down to the first base line, and it didn't have to be hit very hard to be a home run if you hit it there. Next, we have number 65 through 72. And we only have one Hall of Famer on this players, but as my grandmother would have said, he's a good one. And that's Larry Doby, of course. Larry Doby was the first African-American player to play in the American League, and he missed only by just a matter of a few weeks, coming after Jackie Robinson in the National League. The American League was much slower to integrate than the National League, and the last team to formally integrate I think was, I can't remember now, it was either the Red Sox or the Orioles, but the Yankees were late, one of the very later teams to. I think the Red Sox were not the last, but I think it was the Orioles, but I'm not sure about that. So, but you can look it up. It was long, 10 years really after Jackie Robinson, or more than 10 years. The Phillies were one of the later teams also. Next we have card numbers 73 through 81. Again, no Hall of Famers, but just interesting things. Obviously, there's Andy Pafko. Now he's no longer with the Dodgers, but he's with the Milwaukee Braves. Card number 1 in the 52 top set. Jackie Jensen. Jackie Jensen won I'm pretty sure won an MVP with the Red Sox, I think in 1959. Really strong guy and great player, but regrettably didn't like flying enough so that he retired from baseball so he wouldn't have to make the trip out to the West Coast anymore. Ray Boone, is the father of a major league player, a Phillies catcher, Bob Boone, and a grandfather of at least 2 that I can think of, Aaron and Brett Boone, and I think maybe there was a third one. So really strong baseball lineages. Fred Haney, manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates. They weren't very good in these days, despite Fred's best efforts. Card numbers 81 through 88. Also, no Hall of Famers there. Well, I take that back. Joe Collins, one of the most valuable player for the Yankees in 1942. He got the MVP despite Ted Williams winning the Triple Crown, which is kind of a very close vote. And one of the Boston sports writers left Ted Williams off of his ballot. An astonishing lack of he just didn't like Ted Williams. A lot of sports writers didn't like Ted Williams. Bob Turley, pitcher with the Orioles, was the most valuable player of the 1958 World Series. When I was in Cub Scouts at the age of, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9, I won a bowling league in our Cub Scout pack with an average score of 64. Not very good, but I was better than all the other ones, all the other kids. And the prize, because it was the name of the bowling alley was Bob Turley Lanes, was an autographed baseball by Bob Turley. And regrettably, the temptation to play with a brand new baseball, which were not easy to come by. We used a lot of electrical tape to wrap up the baseballs when they would lose their covers, as they inevitably did. And my first autographed baseball of any kind was Bob Turley, and I don't have it. I did later get another one, and I have it in my collection now. Roy Face, 1959, Roy Face won 18 games and lost 1, all coming in relief. And that, I believe, is still a record for win-loss percentage for a pitcher. Matt Batts, now the catcher with the Detroit Tigers, was a catcher with the Boston Red Sox back in the day. And I think probably you've heard my story about Ted Williams in the batting cage, hitting several balls to left field, line drives to left field, turning around and saying to Matt Batts, who was standing by the batting cage, he said, "You see that, Batts? I can hit them to left field whenever I want to, but they don't pay me to hit the left field." It's a great story. If you want to read about that, Ted Williams' book, My Turn at Bat, is a terrific autobiography, ghost written by somebody else, no doubt. In the next set of cards, numbers 89 through 76, we have 2 Hall of Famers right above and below each other. Card number 90 is Willie Mays, and card number 95 is it 95? That doesn't seem like it. I guess it is right. Card number 90 is Willie Mays. Card number 94 is Ernie Banks. The Ernie Banks is a little bit miscut, but I didn't really notice that too much because I thought they were all miscut at one time or another. So, that's not as nice a card as it otherwise looks, but I like it still. Same with the Willie. Card number 98 on the top row is Joe Black. Who was the Brooklyn Dodgers Rookie of the Year, 1950, I want to say. He was the was the Brooklyn counterpart to Joe Page on the Yankees. Joe Black was a key pitcher for the Dodgers. Started a lot of games with Charlie Dressen. Hurt his arm and never really was quite as effective after that. Another Hall of Fame player, obviously Gil Hodges. My copy of that's a pretty good copy, so I like Gil Hodges. And Gene Woodling, an outfielder for the Yankees, was another one of those guys that shuttled back and forth between the Yankees and other teams, notably the Senators. He was a really good fielder and a good hitter. Perhaps on another team he would have been a star, but on the Yankees he was a role player. So number 105 through 112. We don't have any Hall of Famers on that page. Billy Bruton was outfielder for the Braves. Played in the outfield with Hank Aaron and Andy Pafko. Really pretty well known for his defensive prowess, and could hit some. On the next set of cards, numbers 113 through 120, again, no Hall of Famers, except there are three players on here that in my experience collecting, whenever I started working on a set, I always seemed to get one or more of these players early on, maybe in the first 10 or 12 cards. And those were Rip Rapolsky, outfielder with the Cardinals, Johnny Antonelli, a pitcher with the New York Giants, and Roy McMillan, the Cincinnati Reds shortstop. Notice that the name of the team on Roy's card is the Cincinnati Redlegs. They were the Reds up until sometime in the first half of the decade of the 50s, when that term became associated with communism, and we had a very zealous senator from Wisconsin, junior senator, named Joe McCarthy, who was making anything red virtually hated in the United States. In 1954, he was the Army McCarthy hearings, chaired by Estes Kefauver, were televised, and really for the first time, the average American could see Joe McCarthy at work, and he was not impressive. He was trying to root out communists in the Army. The committee had a young lawyer working for it named David Shine, and David was a homosexual. The chief counsel for the committee was a lawyer. His name went right out of my mind. Joseph Welch, very fine lawyer. He tried to protect Shine, and in doing so, he got into let's be charitable. We'll call it a debate with Senator McCarthy, at the conclusion of which he uttered the famous saying, "Have you no shame, Senator? At long last, have you no shame?" And that's what people took. Uh, Shortly after that, the Senate voted to censure Joe McCarthy, and by 1957 he was dead. He was what we might call a practicing alcoholic by that time. And curiously enough, his his lawyer and Donald Trump's lawyer were the same guy. Uh, his his name was Roy Cohn. Uh, what goes around comes around, I guess. Um, okay, so on the next page, we do have a Hall of Famer there, and this is the rookie card of Hank Aaron. And you'll see that my example has a couple of tape marks on it. But at the prices that Aaron rookies are going for now, I believe that I won't be getting another one anytime soon. So it's suitable for my taste. Uh, and so that's just take the opportunity to show you the backs of the cards, and you'll see that some of them are upside down, and some of them are right side up. And on the other hand, when you look at the fronts, they're all right side up. So you see how it looks. It's very displeasing. I told you I have my obsessions. That's one of them. Okay, so now we turn to cards numbered 129 through 136. There's the Tommy Lasorda rookie we talked about earlier. Also a Hank Bauer card. This set has some coach cards, and you can see coach's cards. You can see one of them is Del Baker, who was a coach for the Red Sox. I like the action photo. Hank Bauer was involved in the Copacabana incident, which resulted in him being shuffled off to Kansas City, which by then was a major league team. It had been the Yankees AAA affiliate back before the Athletics moved out there. Same ultimately happened with Billy Martin. George Weiss wasn't going to fire or trade Mickey Mantle or Whitey Ford, who were the other two guys involved in the incident. So it was Bauer and Martin that got shuffled off to other teams. Card numbers 145 through 152. Again, no Hall of Famers. We do have another coach's card, John Riddle with the St. Louis Cardinals. Alex Grammas was managed the Phillies after Gene Mauch and Bob Skinner. I think it was in the 70s, I believe. Otherwise, nothing too remarkable on that page. Number 153 through 160. Um, I was just reading an article about a John Kennedy, who was the first black player to be signed and make the team with the Philadelphia Phillies organization. He didn't last very long, regrettably. I think he had maybe, I don't know, half a dozen at bats or 5 games, something like that. Peanuts Lowry with the Cardinals there. He was a coach, a base coach with the Phillies at one point in time. So that's those set of cards. The next set of cards, number 161 through 168. Features no Hall of Famers, but a World Series MVP for the 1955 Brooklyn Dodgers, Johnny Padres. He was the hero. He also won a World Series game in 1965. I think he won one with the Los Angeles Dodgers. I could be wrong about that. In any case, he was a real party animal, and he liked he never met a curfew that he didn't try to beat. Card numbers 169 through 176. No Hall of Famers. You may recall outfielder Jim Rhodes, better known as Dusty Rhodes, was the guy that hit the ball that Willie Mays caught in the 1954 World Series. So Willie wouldn't have had a chance to make that great play if there wasn't for Dusty Rhodes. Card numbers 177 through 184. One of the coach's cards there is Earl Combs. Earl Combs was the center fielder for the 1927 New York Yankees. He played in between Babe Ruth and Bob Musial and caught everything that they didn't. His nickname was, I believe, was the Colonel. He was batted first in the Murderer's Row, and so he wore number 1. That's the way the Yankees did their numbers when they first got numbers on their uniforms. Ruth batted third, so he was number 3. Gehrig batted fourth, he was number 4. Dickey batted 8th, he was number 8, and so on. And Earl Combs was number 1. I don't really think I know too much about most of the rest of the guys. On the next set of cards, there is one Hall of Famer there. Heine Manouche made the Hall of Fame as a player, and here he's depicted as a coach for the Washington Senators. Chuck Stobbs, the pitcher for the Washington Senators, in card number 185, he's the pitcher who served up the fastball that Mickey Mantle hit 565 feet, so they say. Whether or not it was exactly that distance, who can tell? but he hit it out of Griffith Stadium in Washington, D.C. in 1953, and it's depicted on one of those subset cards, Ruth hits longest home run, Mantle hits longest home run. I believe it was 1958 set of card set. So that's what Chuck Stobbs is probably most known for. We have again a number of cards that of players who were not particularly noted, and I can say that Rocky Nelson was later traded to the Pittsburgh Pirates and hit a 3-run homer in Game 7 of the 1960 World Series. He doesn't hit that home run. The Pirates were behind 7-4, and I think it was maybe in the 7th inning, 6th or 7th inning. The Yankees jumped out ahead 9-7 after Nelson hit that home run to tie it, and then the Pirates tied it in their half of the 8th inning, 9-9 to set the stage for Ozorowski's dramatic home run. So that's a little bit about Rocky Nelson. Here's the third of the 3 big rookie cards in the set, Kaline. Mine has a tiny little bit of paper loss, right on the letter L, first L in Kaline. Johnny Sain, the pitcher for the Yankees, later the pitching coach for the Yankees, and Whitey Ford in particularly thrived during the time that Sain was the pitching coach. Grady Hatton was later a manager. Bob Perky was later traded to the Cincinnati Reds, Redlegs, whatever they were, in 1961. Harry Breheen was by this time a coach with the Orioles. He was a very good pitcher with the Cardinals back in the day. I think he was one of the key figures in the 1946 World Series. The next set of cards, numbers 209 through 216, no Hall of Famers, but Don Hoke, of course, was later the third baseman for the 1960 Pittsburgh Pirates. A few other years too. He was my wife's favorite, light beer commercial. I think featured a bunch of guys, and it was a beer commercial anyway. It was featured some guys sitting around, and one of them's girlfriend or wife says, who really cares, who played third base for the Pirates in 1960, and all the men immediately say Don Hoke. So that's kind of, she laughs about that, but it's true. That's what guys do. Little note about Bob Buell. He once had a perfect score as a hitter. He batted 0-0-0 one year for the I think he was with the Cubs by then. It was in the early 60s. So in the next set of cards, again, no Hall of Famers by this time. I can't really even tell you any stories about any of these guys. I'm not sure that I really recognize any of their names except through this exercise of going through this card set. The next cards, 225 through 232. Bob Kuzava was, again, another left-handed pitcher with the Yankees in the early 50s. Not one of the key guys in the rotation, but I guess they'd call him a spot starter. Gene Hermansky was, I'm trying to remember, I think he was with the Brooklyn Dodgers as a player, and pretty well thought of. And of course, Roy Smalley is another one of those guys who had a son who played Major League Baseball, Roy Smalley Jr. So that's what I know about those guys, which isn't much, but it's better than that other page. The next page of cards, again, no Hall of Famers, but these are cards number 233 through 240. And one of the key players there is, of course, the pitcher Vern Law, who was really one of the Pirate pitching heroes for the 1960 World Series team. He would have been a rookie back in '52, I believe. You notice he's wearing he's not wearing glasses. Bill Verdon was the guy. I always confuse Bill Verdon and Vern Law because they both had a V in their name. It's the only thing I can think of. They don't look alike. They didn't play the same position. Nothing about them other than they were on the same team. And of course, this is, I believe, is Bill Skowron's rookie year, also 1954. He was a key part of the 5 consecutive American League championships of the early part of the 1960 through 64. He only won 2 World Series during that time period. But Bill Skowron was, because he, didn't get an RBI. He scored the winning run, I guess I should say, in the 7th game of the 1962 World Series. Sam Mealy, of course, was the first manager of the Minnesota Twins. And Jerry Lynch is another one of those guys. He went back and forth at least twice with the Cincinnati Reds and the Pirates. So when I was growing up, I had a Jerry Lynch model baseball glove, which I think is the one I got after I lost or had my original Mickey Mantle glove. I can't say that it was stolen. It probably was found, would be my guess. But anyway, I got another. I actually got 2 more now. It's the same model. Here on the last next to the last page, I should say. Again, no Hall of Famers. Roy Sievers was I believe, 1949 Rookie of the Year. Towards the end of his career, he came over to the Phillies and was the first baseman before Bill White got there. So it was in the very early 60s. Kurt Roberts was the first black player to play for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Let's see. Can't really know too much about any of the other guys. Then we come to the last two cards of the set, which card number 250 was mentioned earlier as the second Ted Williams card in the set. And card number 249 is Vinegar Bend Mizell, who later went on to some degree of fame with the after being elected to the House of Representatives, U.S. House of Representatives, for the state of South Carolina, or congressional district in South Carolina. And I'm told was one of the key reasons why the Republican Party dominated the annual, and I'm not sure whether they played hardball or softball, but I think they played baseball, I think, and did in those days too. Anyway, the Republicans certainly had an advantage with Vinegar Bend. And the other story I can tell you about Vinegar Bend Mizell is in Pittsburgh. They had a reunion of the 1960 World Series champion Pirates, and in which they tried to get all of the living members of that team. And this was, of course, after Roberto Clemente had passed, and perhaps maybe a couple of others. Danny Murtaugh had passed, so he wasn't there. This was probably in the second half of the 1980s when this show was held. And Vinegar Bend Mizell was advertised that he was going to be there, but he became ill just before the show, and he didn't come. So I didn't get his autograph on either the team ball or the team bat that I got when I went to that show. And he died not too long after that, so I missed out. I felt bad about it, but probably not as bad as Mr. Mizell or Congressman Mizell. So that's the 1954 Topps baseball card set. Like I said, a lot of people really like this set. I'm not maybe as big a fan as I am of other sets from the 50s. Just about any other set from the 50s. I'm just never really warmed up to it. Possibly because of the half the cards backs being upside down as compared with the fronts. That still bothers me, and I don't really like the fact that there's no top border on the cards. Like I said, I thought they were miscut. I thought they were all miscut when I first saw one, but they aren't. So anyway, this is Rocket Rick J18 wishing all your collecting dreams come true.